Hello and welcome to week 11 of Health 135. So this week we're going to be finishing up our menu planning unit. And really the main thing that you're going to be doing this week is reading chapter 17, which is going to be a fantastic resource for you as you begin your menu assignment. And that's really what I'm going to spend most of this video going over. But before I do that, I wanted to thank all of you for your honest and respectful responses to last week's discussion board concerning breastfeeding and formula feeding. I think it is such an important topic to discuss, and I really appreciated the respect that everyone had as they were posting and responding to their classmates. So good job on that. And so this week we're going to move into the final week of menu planning before we get into our last unit starting next week. So really what I wanted to do is introduce the assignment, show you all of the resources that are in Blackboard for you so that you have a good understanding of how to go about completing this assignment. It's due at the end of week 13, so you have several weeks to work on it. But when you go into Blackboard and you go down to our menu planning unit, at the very bottom, you're going to see week 11, planning and serving nutritious and economical meals. So when you go here, you're going to see in your required reading, you're going to find the chapter 17 PowerPoint as well as a narrated PowerPoint. I highly recommend that you read this chapter before attempting the menu planning assignment. This chapter is so full of practical information that you're going to need to use as you create your menu. It goes into detail about what kind of nutritional value they should have at different meals, substitutes that you can use, minimum requirements, making sure that your menu is aesthetically pleasing, which means it needs to look pretty if we want children to actually attempt to eat new foods. So that is what is in the required reading, listening, viewing. And then when you go to the assignments and the assessments, your discussion board for this week is handling mealtime behaviors. So make sure that you post your response, respond to at least 2 of your classmates to take care of your weekly participation. But when you go to the folder for 4-week menu plan, here's where you're going to find everything that you need. So if you click on the menu instructions and grading rubric, it's going to take you to a Microsoft Word document that looks like this. So let me go over it so that you have a really clear understanding of what it is that you're going to be doing. The other thing to know is that there is a template provided for you, so you don't even have to come up with one on your own. And this is what your template looks like because you are going to be creating a 4-week menu plan. And in each week, you're going to be putting in these grids what the children would be having for breakfast, what they would be having for a snack, and what they would be having for lunch. And so each week has its own grid. As you type into these, they should expand. But if not, you can certainly adjust the height and the width as necessary. So that's really what your template looks like. And that's what you'll turn in when you're finished. But when we go back to the menu instructions, again, you're going to see on the grid a breakfast, a snack, and a lunch. It's going to be for 4 weeks. And again, chapter 17 is going to be your best friend. It really does have such a great wealth of information about how to actually plan a good, well-balanced nutritional menu. So here's a few things to remember. We want variety and try not to repeat meals. Even though we know children love some of their favorite foods, we really are trying to introduce them to a variety of healthy meals. So we want to make sure that we are not constantly repeating things. So an example, offer foods fixed in a variety of ways, but don't offer the same meat more than twice in 1 week. So for example, ground beef can be served as meatloaf or hamburger in week 1, and then in week 2, tacos or meatballs or something like that. So we're really trying to, again, have that variety of meat and protein in their menu. All meals must be well balanced and nutritious. Try to include at least one non-meat but still a protein meal each week. So that would give a total of 4. The other thing, include accommodations for at least one common allergy. And you're going to want to make sure that you notate that on your menu, that you have some kind of accommodation for a particular food allergy. So whether it's milk, you have an alternative for it, such as soy milk. Maybe it's going to be something for a child with a peanut allergy. But you do want to have at least one accommodation. And as I've told you in the past, this one is so near and dear to my heart because of my own children. So taking into account that we want to make sure that we have something for every single child is really important. So as long as there's at least one accommodation for an allergy, that's good. But as always, if you go above that, then that's even better. Make sure that all necessary food groups are correctly identified and represented at all meals. And if you look at your menu grid, you're going to find that it's already kind of told you that there needs to be a bread, a protein, something like that. So just make sure that somehow you make it easily recognizable on your menu what category it fits into. Under 17.1b, it starts on page 429, and then pages 430 and 431 have grids on them. So it continues on 432. But they give you 3 minimum requirements. So obviously those have to be met. Again, if you're going to have something like a salad, a fruit cocktail, a soup, or a stew, make sure you list what ingredients are in there, because that's going to determine whether or not you've met the nutritional guidelines. Obviously, most important thing, you have to make this on your own. There's a ton of menus out there, but you need the practice of how do I find what types of foods children should have, how much should children have of these different foods and food groups. So just make sure this is something that you have created on your own. Obviously, some things to avoid: stay away from, high fats, lots of sugar, fried foods, choking hazards. So these are just some good things to try and avoid. And then when you get to the rubric, you're going to see things that I'm looking for: a variety of foods and a good nutritional balance, meat accommodations, allergy accommodations. It meets the USDA guidelines, and writing mechanics. So one thing that I did want to mention, especially when we get to this USDA guidelines. So on the instructions, it does not require you to include the amount of food that children are going to be eating. However, if you would like to earn 5 extra credit points on this assignment, if you put in the amount of food that children are eating, then you will get 5 extra credit points. And the reason I do that is because I think it's highly important to understand that portion sizes are huge. We know it as adults, but it's also really important for children, because when you look at the guidelines, it actually says that children who are age 3, they should have 1 cup of something or half a cup of something. And so when you're using all of this information to determine what's going to go in your menu, I think it's also important to be able to know how much they should be having. So again, that's worth 5 extra credit points if you put it on your menu. So a couple of other things that are in Blackboard for you. Obviously, you, again, can't copy. Here's the template. This is a fantastic resource. I'm going to warn you in advance, it's 100 pages. I'm not expecting you to actually read all of it, but this is CACFP child and adult full planning menu, something like that. Is a great guide that is going to tell you things to avoid, things to include. So this is going to be a great resource. There are lots of menus in there, but remember, you can't copy them. So a fun little fact about centers that participate in this program, that food and formula is reimbursed if they are a part of this program, and the cook's pay or salary is also reimbursed. So that's kind of a neat little incentive. This is going to take you to the USDA menu planning website, so that's going to be some great information for you as well. And then finally, here's a great resource for the allergy accommodations. The text doesn't go quite as much in detail as obviously I would like, but this is a great resource for you as you're looking for ways to accommodate for allergies, dairy, nuts, things like that. So that's what you should be doing as you are creating your menu plan. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. But this, again, is going to finish up Unit 5 on menu planning. So as you work on this, remember that it's going to be due at the end of week 13. And one last reminder, don't forget that your observation is due at the end of this week. Don't forget the thank you note. That really is going to play a part in your grade. If you sent them an email, then just forward it to me. And if you wrote a handwritten thank you note, just take a picture of it so that you can email it to me. But as long as I can see that you sent the thank you note, it is worth 10% of your grade. So you don't want to lose those 10 points off the bat. So, hope you have a great time reading through Chapter 17 and starting on your menu, and I will see you in week 12.